it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I tentatively would like to say that I think I've gotten the internet sorted. And secondly, I would also like to say that what in all godly hell just popped up on my screen there saying that we're broadcasting in 1080p now, Paddy. I feel sorry for anybody watching us on a big screen, by the way, if it is broadcasting, because that's not something that happened prior to the international break. Specifically, we didn't have that happen before the international break. So, yeah, so everybody, if it's 1080p, you could probably see the pores in my nose as we're talking now. So I do apologize. Hopefully all the children are gone to bed because it could be a scary situation without the fuzzy screen that we normally have.
I'm glad I wore a hat today because then you'd see more of my balding head if it was in high definition or whatever. 1080p. So, yeah. What do you think of my new hat, Neil?
I love your new hat, Paddy. I love your new hat. I have a box of them here as well. And those hats usually only kind of go on sale in any of our live podcasts, one of which we have in Birmingham on the 19th of April. For everybody who's wondering, tickets are still on sale. You can find them on yapsody.com, yapsody.com. And you just search for us. That's the beauty about being the only podcast called For the Love of Paul McGrath, that once you type our name in anywhere, we're the only one that shows up. It's like my own name, Neil Dunnard. I've said to people that I must be the only person with that name in the world, and they've Googled it, and I'm the only person with that name, it seems, in the whole entire world, which I don't think we could say the same for you, Paddy, because I know about 9 Paddy Kellys. I actually have 5 people in my phone with the name Paddy Kelly. So,
isn't there a Paddy Kelly that watches the podcast? He comments on our Twitter all the time.
Yeah, he's the real Paddy Kelly. He's the real Paddy. Yeah. Well, do you know what the nice thing is? The nice thing here is that Kat Cannon says that she doesn't see any difference in the 1080p that we're broadcasting. I'm just presuming we are, just flashed up on the screen in front of me. And Aurelio Gomez, I hope you're talking about your TV there. He says he's got 65 inches. But we'll keep that gutter talk for another day. Carl Kennedy, actually, I didn't. You just reminded me, Carl. I didn't get those back. Yeah, so I must go looking and see what the crack is. Carl and myself had a great game of hat tennis. Let's put it that way. At one stage there, just after Christmas, with Ampost, our provider here in Ireland. Anyway. We've had a lot to talk about, Paddy. We've had a lot that's gone on. And look, one of the reasons we haven't jumped on during the international break was because my internet was so unstable. I have a bush fix done today. There's a proper fix coming tomorrow, and I'm on top of the world because of it. But we didn't come and talk about an awful lot of stuff. Took the 2 weeks to kind of decompress, I suppose, after what's been a really roller coaster season in a good way. And a lot's happened. We've got a new £40 million sponsor, Paddy. Betano are now going to sponsor the club, another betting company as well. And look, for full transparency here, guys, look, both myself and Paddy, we have flutters, we bet, we know that betting isn't for everybody. I think it'd be very, very hypocritical if I was to sit here and start writing and running against a betting company. I completely understand people don't like that on the front sponsor, and it is something that we only have for the next 2 years. But I am of the opinion that as long as people know that there is help out there and so on, and I never want to see anybody get into a situation where they're in difficulty with betting. Absolutely not. Just like I don't want to see anyone get into difficulty with drinking or with excessive anything. I certainly don't want to see that. Would I prefer if we had, let's say, Coca-Cola or Apple or some massive multinational that could flog money at us on the front of the shirt? Absolutely, and I think that will come. But look, as I say, 20 million a year for 2 years, Paddy, seems like it's a heck of a deal if you'll excuse the pun.
Yeah, it is a heck of a deal, and they're not fly by nights, and they're not gonna go belly up. They've been around for a very long time. The money apparently is held in an account for the second year, so we don't lose that no matter what.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of play. I totally agree with everything you say. I'm not going to be a hypocrite either. I do gamble, I do bet, or don't do it to any great shakes or put my livelihood or family or anybody in danger doing it. But I understand that people do have problems with it. And look, I don't like it on the shorts. I'm just looking at the 3 shorts there behind you. They've all got BK88 and Trade Nation on the sleeve, and it's just become part and parcel of the game. And look, for the next 2 years, we need to get the best possible deal available to the club. That's what they've set out. That's what they've done. Although it hasn't been officially announced yet, sure it hasn't.
No, but I think it will. Like, it's all but, you know, it's one of those ones. BK8 wasn't either, and
No.
I understand that for the fact that had a murky past. But
Yeah.
but I know I've basically been bankrolling Porto and Portuguese football essentially for the last 2 or 3 years. So
And that's it. And
there's
look,
lots of money behind them.
we've got 2 more years of this. When we're playing in Europe, I think more often than not we'll be playing with a sponsorless short or Acorns or Aston Villa Foundation, as we had for one of the games. So it's not a huge deal. The big deal is in 2 years' time is how the football clubs replace all those gambling companies, and that's the bigger picture further down the line. So we'll have to persevere with it for 2 years. It could always be worse. Like if you look at Nottingham Forest started this season with no sponsor on their shorts. Chelsea started this season with no sponsor on their shorts. You need sponsors to keep everything afloat. Otherwise, we start paying for it as fans, which we will get to.
Look, that's
going to happen.
That's going to happen anyway, Paddy.
Yeah,
it's going to happen anyway. It's not either or. I don't think
the next phase of meltdown. I would imagine after we hopefully win a semi-final of the Conference League, that the season ticket prices will come out and people's meltdown and be lost in the good news of where we are. So look, we don't really have a choice. Well, you do. There's ways of getting these off your shorts. People have found amazing ways of doing things. So if it means that much to you,
I'm sure. Yeah, there's loads of guys. You just go on Instagram, type in Aston Villa shirt, and you'll probably find somebody who will be able to take it off. And I know, like, we have a good mate, Ronan. Always comments in the podcast here. Always comes over to Villa Park with us, and he's got 2 shirts that he's had removed. And you know what? I'm jealous because they look class with the Acorns and the Aston Villa Foundation. Look really good with those on the front. And you know, I just don't understand why the club don't sell those separately. And I know why they can't. I absolutely know why they can't. But yeah, it's if there was some sort of deal where you could sell them, sell both types, you know, the club would make an absolute fortune, because I'd buy both versions of both shirts, like,
and then hang them on the wall and not wear them like you do.
And then hang them on the wall back to front with the names in the back as opposed to the thing in the front. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, it's one of those. I've sent my 3rd strip to a guy to take off and put on the Acorns, because I just think it looks amazing, and there's a little bit of nostalgia in it because I loved what we did with Acorns back in the day. But that was long before financial fair play, and that is the most important thing in over the horizon for us. So if you couple a few things together, including these deals that are done, these are going to help us further down the line. So it's good to have them in place before that 30th of June deadline, that we surely have money in the bank and a kit launched. And and there's Adidas money to consider in that one as well.
And that's it. And look, I'm going to whisper this because I don't know if it's true, number one. And second of all, I don't know whether it's been written properly anywhere, but like numbers that are quoted for there's a reason I'm saying this. Numbers that are quoted for the sponsorship deal are baseline numbers, not including accelerators for progression to group stages, knockout stages of certain competitions and so on for that sponsorship deal. And the reason I'm saying this is because, like, BK8 were a very murky company. We didn't know where the money was coming from. We know they had the scandal with regards to, you know, feminism and stuff, or misogynistic practices and stuff like that previously. But Anno seemed to be a rock solid company. They've gone from 100 employees to 2,000 employees in the space of about 3 years or 4 years. They've really expanded. They've been a massive source of income for the Portuguese football pyramid, I suppose. Really, Porto have. I think Porto have stopped I think their sponsorship was finished with them, but like it was well over 100 million. I think it was 140 million or something like that in sponsorship went through Porto's hands over like a 3-year period or something like that, and that's including escalators for Champions League and all that. So it's just interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the final numbers look like on the balance sheet more often. And Paddy, to be honest with you, I don't know numbers. I don't know how much money I've got in my pocket. I just know that I've got enough to get me to tomorrow and into the future. But like, it's sad that we're being forced to be accountants. No, I should know a lot more about my own household expenditures, don't get me wrong, but I shouldn't need to know about my football club's expenditure. And it's an Aston Villa thing. It's just the financial fair play and the profit and loss stuff, and the fact they're changing it again in the coming off season. And you know, us fans have enough to worry about, I suppose, than having to worry about, you know, whether we can spend 70% of our income or whatever the case is. But the reason I'm not going to get into that conversation because I don't want it, because it just bog everything down. But the big thing here is that, you know, judging by what a lot of people said when our accounts were released, we needed to find 32 million, I think it was, pronto. Essentially, we found 32 million in this and Adidas's deal, if you're to believe what the numbers are there, the baseline numbers are. So, you know, from here on in, we should be able to keep the squad together over the summer, which is one of the main concerns for me. And then, obviously, anything that comes in from what we win, league placings, further deals, maybe able to be supplemented on top then for spending afterwards. But I think it's going to be a bit of a wild west this off season. I think a lot of clubs are going to test the new rules, I think, this off season, and claim stupidity into next season, and we'll see what way that works out. But it's going to be exciting, I think, either way for Aston Villa. And if we have to sell, we have to sell. If we don't, we don't. And you know, either way, I think the club will be prepared for it, because we have been prepared. Like, we really have been prepared for a lot of this stuff. It's not looked good, but we've never really been shitting our pants over the financial fair play stuff. The club outwardly hasn't been doing that, and hopefully that continues into the future as well.
Not since a certain Chinese man left in 2018 have we been worrying.
And that's what I mean. Yeah, that was worrying. That was really worrying.
Yeah, it is a concern for everybody. Everybody's talking about it. Like we've heard in the last few days, Leicester are now in trouble. We've been mentioned. One of my new favorite podcasts is the Price of Football podcast, because it keeps me kind of abreast of what's happening in that world. And you know, they're two great guys that do a podcast just about football finances, and I really enjoy it while I'm on my long journeys. But it's yeah, on the other hand, it is worrying. We know we have to cut our cloth to fit. I'm disappointed that they're changing the rules again, because when they change the rules, it just seems to be pointing towards looking after the greedy ones again. Everything they do is just pointing at looking after the greedy ones. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight, because we have a lot to talk about. And look, we've just got to mind our own shop. And if that 40 million helps us mind our own shop, that's the way it has to be, unfortunately. Like, I would, as you say, I'd much prefer to have a big company just to mix it up. I'll say Samsung and Pepsi on the front of our shorts, whatever it is. It would just make people, and you know what, people who complain about the price of a mobile phone, or the price of what Pepsi is doing to your teeth and Coca-Cola. Yeah, look, it's a minefield no matter what you do, and people will never be happy. But the thing that makes me the happiest the most is the 40 million coming into our club. We have the Adidas money. No doubt another sleeve sponsor will come in as well. And yeah, look, the future's bright. But I think for now, the most important thing is to get the silverware over the line at the end of this season, and our league position, because we know every league position is worth upwards of 3 million. And then, obviously, the big pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. Don't see much sun. There's an awful lot of rain at the moment, but maybe that end of the rainbow is coming on the end of May when we get to the Champions League. Fingers crossed, touch wood, cross everything. And that is where the big bucks come, because we get a slice of the pie. But there's more matches next year in the Champions League. There's so much at play. We need to be at that table, and we need to be eating our dinner quickly.
Yeah, the big bucks come, but there's a future podcast to be done about how we will get road and shafted 7 ways from Sunday as well with regards to the distribution of the wealth in next year's Champions League if we get there as well. Just have a little look at what Manchester United earned and what Newcastle earned for the Champions League this year. Bear that in mind because
Well, I put it to you this way:
all the
they
glitters ain't gold.
they're gone since before Christmas, and they'll still earn a damn sight more than what we will for our run in the Conference League. So,
they'll earn like 10 times or I think something like 21 times or something like that. What we will earn.
So if our European adventure, if next year's adventure only takes us to Christmas, so be it. But we need to be earning that kind of money, and who knows, we might get the parachute into the Europa League if it comes to that. And that's not me being negative. It's me being a realist. It's me being a realist because I know all this financial fair play means that we're not going to spend a whole pile of money unless we've got players going out. So it'll be an interesting summer for sure, but we just got to get our job done between now and the 28th of May when that huge game in Athens comes around, and hopefully it'll all be a week and a half of celebration after the last game of the season. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. And spoiler alert, I think Aston Villa will have sewn up 5th place come the 21st of April when they beat Bournemouth. I've long been on record as saying that, and nothing has changed in my mind since. Anyway, let's not get to my into my soothsaying because it could all blow up my face this weekend when we play against Wolves, Paddy.
This one, there's no dropping down tournaments with this new format. I actually agree with that if that's the case, because look at what it's done to our tournament where you've got people dropping in that could potentially run away and win it on you. So I'm quite happy if they go back to that, if you qualify for the Champions League, you're gone. That would make me happy because I think that's the way it should be.
Paddy, what do you make of naming rights? I'm on record as saying I couldn't care less. What if a company wants to give you a boodle of cash to name your stadium after that company? I'm still going to call it Villa Park. I could so take their money and bigger fool them for paying. Anyone who pays for naming rights for a stadium has to know that no one gives a shiny shite about what the stadium is called, or shouldn't either. And at the end of the day, all it's going to be is on a news broadcast to say at the Walker Stadium or at the whatever stadium.
Yeah,
at the X Stadium. I wouldn't take Musk's money, but but I really don't care because at the end of the day, Villa fans are going to call it Villa Park forever. And if we can call it Villa Park and be 100 million better off over 5 years, I might be in the minority. I don't, but at the end of the day, I genuinely believe companies are stupid to pay money to buy the naming rights of a stadium. So we should take their stupid money. That's what I'm saying. It's the biggest con in all of sponsorship, is my view on it, because nobody will really realistically care, and everybody will call it Villa Park.
So look, we've seen it's a different story when you've got like the Etihad Stadium, or you've got the Walker Stadium, or what they call now King Power. But St. James's Park was always St. James's Park, even though they tried to call it the Sports Direct Arena. They can call it whatever they like. It is still St. James's Park. And once it's named Villa Park, it'll always be Villa Park. That's my way of looking at it. So if somebody wants to go, and even look, there's nobody stopping anybody renaming the North Stand and putting whatever company they want on that. So that all of these things are going to be looked at. It'll still be called the North Stand, except on the ticket of whoever buys a ticket there. But anyway, the most important thing is, as I said, is we stay on the trajectory we're on. We can look at the development further down the line. I know there's a lot of anxiety over the mention of Blues moving stadium now today. There's rumours here, rumours there. So look, I didn't even read the stuff with the Blues today. There's a lot of people saying it in the comments. I don't think that's a story for this show because, as you say, I couldn't give a shiny shite.
Well, it's and they bought a go-kart.
Sorry, I do give a shiny shite. I would love to be a competitive
Villa
team.
Will buy.
I had this before, yeah. So if
Villa,
sorry, go for it.
I'm saying Villa will buy land off Birmingham City Council. If Birmingham City Council are as in dire straits as they are at the moment, if anything like Aston Hall comes up, Villa will break all rules to buy that land. They've been saying not to. Like, there's going to be fire sales of land around Birmingham with the city council, with the city council finances the way they are. With fire sales. And that's probably how Birmingham City got this patch of land anyway. It's near their stadium, it's fine, it's in their patch of land. I wouldn't have wanted that land miles away from where the Villa fan base really, I suppose, is. But, there's going to be patches of land come up on our side of the city, if that makes sense, which the city is ours, so it doesn't really matter. We're all over the place, but you know what I mean? I think there'll be probably more affluent land. Like, best of luck to them. Build a stadium. Doesn't like it's not going to make a jot of a difference. It's not going to make it. Their stadium ain't going to make a jot of a difference. I like the different story is I think Villa will buy land, but I don't know whether they'll build a new stadium on it. And being a traditionalist, and obviously I've mentioned in this podcast before, I've been involved in 1 or 2 tender packages and stuff like that for Stadia in the past. I'm still not a whole. I'm 60%, 70% stay at Villa Park, 30% move to a different stadium. I would really need to see what the infrastructure plans related to the stadium were, new stadium were, and what it actually flipping looked like as well. But obviously, my preference would be if you needed to move out of Villa Park for 2 years and play somewhere else and build Villa Park up to be a brand new stadium where it is, I would have no problem with that. But that's, once again, Paddy, we're right in the weeds if we start talking about that one tonight. Right in the weeds.
Yeah, and I'm not on that opinion of the 60%. I'm 100% that we need to stay in Villa Park. Villa Park is Aston Villa. It is their heritage. It is their history, and I don't want to see that messed with. I think there's enough room there to make it what it needs to be. They've proved that with their previous plans, so I'm okay with that. And it's a story for another day, I think. Chad is in there. Neil, he says he's looking forward to seeing the both of us in April. When is a special guest to be announced? Now, I will take this question because
we've been ready to announce about 4 or 5 different people, and then unfortunately there's been developments. But go on, Paddy.
Yeah. So the main development is that Chris Nicholl, God rest his soul, is being married the day of the podcast. So a number of people who are due to come have obviously said that they were going to the funeral, and that's fair enough. But we are still endeavouring to get somebody to come in. Some people have asked for a savage amount of money to come to the show, and some people are just hedging their bets to see if they're going to be available or have a better offer or whatever it is. But
will need to go to the funeral, So as Paddy said, like we had a number of people lined up, and unfortunately they would have been of the vintage of Chris Nicholl. And travel to Southampton on that day and travel back to get back for 7:30. It's very difficult to do. What is it? A 10-hour round trip or 10-hour trip down, 10-hour trip back, or something like that. And obviously these guys ain't 21, 22-year-olds as well. Then to have to sit and stand on stage for 3 or 4 hours afterwards, we can completely understand that. But we've had to pivot on what we had considered doing it. Completely understandable. No bad juju to anybody there, regards to completely understand that. And also that takes precedent.
There is a number of people that are traveling from overseas to this podcast who are going home on the Saturday. So moving it to the Saturday would be unfair on them. So we've decided to stick with what our original plan was. And we'll update people as time goes on. But there's still some tickets left, so get yourself in there and get them. And as we said in the start, that's the only way you're going to be able to buy one of these super hats, because they are far too expensive to post to the UK. So if you want one of these for your trip to Lille, Fenerbahce, Olympiacos, or Athens in the end, the only place to get them is on the 19th of April in the Aston Inn. And if you check, I'm sure it's your pinned post on Twitter, you can buy your tickets there.
It isn't, Paddy, and I must pin it on Twitter. Anyway, and that is important. I meant to bring that up earlier, Paddy, to discuss that, because a couple of people have reached out to me about special guests, and as I say, we had people ready to announce, but Chris Nicholl, RIP, that obviously takes precedent on anything that us we would have organised for sure. we've a small matter of Wolves at the weekend, Paddy. Resurgent Wolves. Did you hear that Gary O'Neill might be offered a coaching spot at Manchester United, Paddy?
That's
Isn't
big,
that massive?
isn't
What? Oh, look, talk about spitting down a fella's neck, like, for God's sake, like, hey, would you like to be demoted and come work for us here at Manchester United? Would you? Man, that would like, and that's nothing to do with United. I know it's 100% press conjecture, but my goodness, like, if you wanted something in 2024 that says you are the little people, we are the big people, that's it, and it shouldn't have happened. It should never have been allowed to be written in a newspaper, whether it was true or not. Anyway, I'm shot out of a cannon tonight. I'm very opinionated, I think, on a lot of things I've said tonight, Paddy. And to be honest with you, I think it's probably because of the 2-week break that we've had. But Wolves are going to be formidable, I think, at the weekend. Obviously, Emery has 2 draws, 4 losses against Wolves in his time in English football. They're the only team other than Stevenage that he's never beaten that he's played in English football. So I think there's a lot riding on this game. And for me, I think we win this game at the weekend. If we win this game at the weekend, I think my prophecy comes true about more or less securing 5th place come the 21st of April. But we have to win this weekend for the other dominoes to fall, I think.
Yeah, and look, they've been on a great run, albeit they were dumped out of the FA Cup surprisingly by Coventry in a mad game. But they beat Fulham, who everyone was struggling to beat. There was a loss to Newcastle in there, and then they beat Brighton, Sheffield United, Spurs, and Chelsea. Either side of a loss to Man United and Brentford. So they can be up and down. The Spurs one in particular was a really smash and grab kind of game, where I think they scored both goals in injury time. Am I correct in saying that? Something strange about that.
Sorry, you'll have to come again there. I kind of lost you, Paddy. What was that?
You lost me. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I've got you now. Yeah.
But they've pushed up the table. Like, they're up to 9th in the table. They are 6 points behind Man United, the people that we're worrying about. So you just never know with this league. This has just been a crazy season. And look, Gary O'Neill has done a savage job, and he will have the luxury of having most of his players, well, the bulk of his players, I suppose, around without international duty this international break. So they will have a lot of time and energy put into this Aston Villa game. Hopefully they overthink it, and hopefully we can go and do a number on them, because it's long overdue. In my head, it's long overdue. I'm sure there was a win in there somewhere recently along the way. Did we beat them at Fulham or at Molineux last season or something in my head? I know we got in the
lockdown
season, we got a late winner, El Ghazi penalty. I can't really remember since then if we got a win. And of course there was that 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go game that ultimately started the downfall of Dean Smith. Yeah, so
and that was your first game back after lockdown as well, wasn't it?
First one after lockdown, yeah. So it's a difficult one. It won't be any pushover by any means. As I said, they're on a decent enough run. They'll be smarting after what's happened against Coventry as well, local rivals. They won't be too happy about that. So they're out. Their sole focus now is on the league. So they're set up well. Decent side. They're very compact in midfield. They play 2 pivots is exactly the same as we do. Very similar.
Good pivots too.
Very similar
really
in style.
Nice pickups.
Yeah.
Guys.
So it will be a decent game of mastermind between one mastermind and one I envisage will be a top coach for many years to come. So it'll be interesting to see how the two line up against each other, and who knows, we could be looking at a game of chess, which will be very, very interesting. And look, I think there will be goals. There's goals in both teams. It is a really interesting fixture, and hopefully this, as you say, will be the springboard to us pushing on and picking up the amount of points we need as early as possible to stay in that top 5.
Yeah. The one thing I think that Wolves fans might be a bit apprehensive about is, look, if Matheus Cunha isn't fit, it looks like it's going to be Nathan Fraser, Irish under-19 international. Nathan Fraser might start up top. Big lad. Young has played 4 games for Wolves so far, but so that's going to be an area that they're going to be, I suppose, low on backup for. I think so. Wang Hee-chan is out, Pedro Neto is out. Pedro Neto is just a fine player. He's been a real great player for them, and they've barely had him this season, and they are where they are at the moment. But you mentioned about their midfield being really strong. They're probably going to play Sarabia behind whoever plays up top. Excuse me. They're going to have Lamina in there as well, Tommy Doyle, your man Traore, and their back three is going to be just 3 hulking people like they always have with the 2 wing backs and Semedo and Aitnouri there too. So for me, I think there's obvious areas we can get at them. We can certainly get at them. It's Matty Cash is going to be out for the weekend. He's not going to be there. So Konza is going to be moved to right back. We all know that both of us prefer Konza at centre half. I don't have any problem with Konza at right back. Konza marks Vinicius Jr. Against Brazil, does a fantastic job on him, and he goes out against Belgium and was arguably England's best player against Belgium, even though he moved positions twice during the game. So I have no problem with Konza playing right back. I just feel that centre half is his position, obviously, but we've got Diego Carlos that can come in there. We've got Clement Longley that can come in there. I think we're coming back at it from a point of positivity. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jacob Ramsey right for this game again, which would be really good. And we're going to have the likes of Diaby coming back after being in international duty. Watkins is on international duty as well. Leon Bailey wasn't because he's taking a séjour from Jamaica over some of the professionalism that the Jamaican team hold. Or don't hold, as the case may be. And we've Yuri Tielemans coming back after pinging 2 of them in against England. That isn't a jibe at England, but it's just something that happened. So Douglas Luiz obviously getting minutes for Brazil again. So we've a lot of people coming back with their chest puffed out, debutants, people making a point like Ollie Watkins and Diaby. And it's been a, barring the Cash injury, it's been a nice international break for us. Nothing too onerous, I think, on a lot of the players, and I'm hoping to see our guys come back in and be reinvigorated once they hit the field this Saturday at 5:30.
I'm glad Pau Torres didn't have to sit through all that and be involved in sitting on a bench. I'm glad that Emi Martinez sat out last night's game. I'm glad that Douglas Luiz got to play at the highest possible level, to be playing England at Wembley, to be playing Spain at the Bernabeu. Yuri Tielemans getting the 2 goals. As you said, I watched them last Saturday against
Rodgers as well.
Against Ireland. Rodgers scored goals on the international break as well. Konza has been excellent. So look,
Tim pinged one in for the 20s as well.
Yeah. So all looking good. As you say, the only downside is that we have that injury, and we don't know how severe the injury is to Matty Cash. We saw him sitting at home watching Poland on telly last night as opposed to being in the stadium. So he obviously wasn't. He's obviously back at Villa getting treatment, and there was reports there was a thigh injury, which heals up a little bit quicker than a hamstring injury.
3 weeks with a hamstring. That's what Fabrizio Romano had today. 3 weeks hamstring.
Well,
which is the worst thing in the world. It means he misses everything up to Lille, to the first Lille game. He misses Man City, he misses Wolves, he misses Brentford and Lille. It's 4 games.
I'll reserve judgment until I hear what Unai has to say on Friday in the presser, because I believe what he says more than Fabrizio Romano. But look, it's something we could have done without. We don't need any injuries at this stage of the season. We need to have all our big guns fit and ready to go. We're not going to get any of the 3 of the long terms back. I'm hoping Diego Carlos is now back at full tilt and will be available to play, because we do need backup now in those positions. I'm hoping Jacob Ramsey comes back fully fit, hopefully for this weekend. So all of these things at play, means that it gives a selection headache to the manager. And let's not forget that Zaniolo had a decent run out as well. So so a lot has happened in the last 10 days, but I can safely say, after not watching too much football over last, because I sat through a fairly sleepy game on Saturday at the Aviva Stadium, I wasn't too enthused to go and watch any other football over the last few days. But glad for the England players, the Ollie Watkins and Konza, to get those runs out. I'd rather they didn't, obviously, but on a personal level, it's nothing beats playing for your country and representing your country. So I'm delighted for them personally. But once they're back firing on all cylinders for this weekend, I really don't care what anyone does over the last 2 weeks. But I'm glad to see that those like Pau Torres got a bit of a holiday, Luca Dean got a holiday. All these people just get the downtime, get the rest, get some heat in the bones, and be back ready for this outright war that's going to happen over the next 10 weeks.
Absolutely. You said it. You absolutely said it. Paddy, you mentioned about Jacob Ramsey there as well, and I think it will be one of the more sought after, one of the more eagerly listened to press conferences, I think, from Unai, probably tomorrow, I would say. He's going to be the one that I'm listening out for. Everybody else is fine. Cash, I'm not expecting Cash to be available for the weekend, but he's the one I'm listening out for, because the dynamic that he brings is interesting. But should he not be there? Talk to me, Paddy, about it always happens in international break, whereby there's a player says something and it turns out that that's not what he said. And Zaniolo just happened to be that player. Well, sorry, it was Leon Bailey first. Happened to be that player first. Oh, I want to play for top six. That's not what he said. Then it happened to be Zaniolo about going, I'm pissed off I didn't get enough time. That's not time in the field. That's not what he said. Number one, I suppose, Paddy, is look, we know why it happens. Like paper doesn't refuse ink. Number one. But I suppose anything in either of those two to give you pause for concern or anything like that, or is it just what it is? It was, look, they were taken out of context. That isn't what they said, and we just move on from here.
Well, first and foremost, Leon Bailey is already playing for a top six team, so it's an irrelevant argument when you think about it. It wasn't. It was said a top six team. He's playing for a top six team, so I just laughed at it and moved on. We spoke about Zaniolo briefly before the international break, and I was hoping that the West Ham goal will spur him on. He needs to do his talking on the pitch. I really, when you're translating as well, whatever about Leon Bailey speaking in English, when you're translating from Italian and people have different dialect and say things differently, you just can't compare apple with apples there. So I really not too bothered. We had it with Tielemans at the start of the season as well. Once these guys turn up on a Saturday and put 110% into what they're doing for Aston Villa, that's all I want. That's everything I want now. I'm watching international football. I really, really fallen out of love with international football. It's absolutely turgid to watch. I'm just praying to get back to Saturday to watch the Villa, I might even watch some other games this weekend, because that's how much I've missed proper football over the last couple of weeks. Look, we're in a good place. We have enough quality there to go and beat the teams that are in front of us. We have a brilliant manager, but now it's time to do the talking on the pitch. And Leon Bailey has done his talking on the pitch. Zaniolo hasn't. So I would be more upset with whatever he had to say if we could understand what he said and listen to him in his proper dialect and the tone of the conversation, which I wouldn't understand either. So it's up to him now to push on. He's had his goal against West Ham. He's had his little cameo there. He's had his cameo for Italy. It's up to him now to cement his place and play himself into the Italian national team's plans for the summer as well. So he has a lot to play for. And he obviously has to play for if he's going to get a contract out of Unai Emery. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. I think we'll tell a tale with Zaniolo, but I'm absolutely not worried about Bailey, and I'm delighted that he's one of the ones that had a break for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And
words I never thought I'd say about Leon Bailey. Isn't it great?
Yeah. That's go back 18 months. You wouldn't have heard that out of Paddy's mouth, that's for sure. But
And we never mentioned Diaby, who also got a run for France.
Yes.
During the week. So
yeah, we got 2 runs, came off the bench, I think, for both games against France, for France. So, look, as I say, a lot of players on redemption arcs is what I think a lot of people were discussing after the West Ham game for both Matty Cash and Zaniolo, but I think a lot of people it does on the international scale recently as well. So long may it continue, because Aston Villa is a brand on the up, their team on the up, the players are getting noticed now playing like Diaby's form. Should he really have been in the French squad? Maybe it's the form of Aston Villa that got him in the French squad. Players are going to look at that, and we've got a big transfer window coming up, so every little helps in that aspect. And obviously, when you've got a manager the caliber of Unai Emery, that certainly helps. But Wolves at the weekend is going to be difficult. I just want to give a little bit of I suppose, transparency for everybody. I'm going to be the back end of Beyonds. Beside that, for those of you who watch the podcast regularly, I have been for the last few years. You might remember that once, if not twice every year, I go by the seaside in the middle of nowhere with no internet connection and nothing, and I just like to just detox from the whole world for 3 or 4 days. And that's happening this weekend as well. Now, I have been able to get online now and then when I have done that. I think the last time we did it was during pre-season. I think it was for the Lazio game this year, Paddy. So if I can get my auxiliary internet connection to connect, I will obviously log on for stuff like that. But otherwise, Paddy will be driving the ship, and I'll be logging on from my phone. But I'm going a bit further afield this time into the wilderness, so I have no idea what my internet reception is going to be like for the weekend. But I will endeavour to get on for the team sheet tantrum at least. And that may mean that there may not be a post-match podcast at the weekend on Saturday, but it will be deferred into maybe Monday evening, if that is the case, when I do return from the wilderness.
Yeah, we've loads
of time.
And it's better if we do the post-match and do it properly. But I'll be here even if you can't make it for the team sheet tantrum. And if you're struggling, we might see if there's someone else around just so that the people don't have to listen to just me giving out about who's going to be blowing the whistle. And we got to 40 minutes into the podcast without mentioning a referee.
42 minutes, Paddy. 42 minutes, and it's going to be Paul Tierney at the weekend. And if I could, you know what? I was thinking of posting their WhatsApp messages on. I'd have to post it behind the paywall, because I couldn't have the absolute public see what was written about Paul Tierney in some of our WhatsApp messages. Otherwise, there would be lawyers. Put it that way.
Well, but, somebody else published the fact that Stephen Reid called him a see you next Tuesday.
Stephen Reid,
a word that I would never even use. A word that I would never even use for talking about our wonderful official podcast anyway.
Yeah, you would use it in the podcast. But look, we've to beat them all to win it, so that's part of the game as well. But look, we're going to leave it at that, everybody. 43 minutes into the podcast. Look, it's great to be back, and Aston will have a massive run in. You're going to be sick of the sight of us between now and the end of May. And I do thank all 400 odd of you guys for watching this today. And if you haven't clicked the like button, the thumbs up, please do before you leave. Also, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and follow us on Twitter, follow us wherever as well, so you keep up to date with when we're going live. Really appreciate it, as always, everybody spending the time. And we will be back for a team sheet tantrum. Whether we are in tandem together or not is another thing. We're fully at the mercy of the internet lords of Clare Island off the coast of Mayo here in Ireland. So if anybody, I'll tell you a gas one about Clare Island. After and look, this is just what happened. It's not been political or anything like that. But after the War of Independence ended in Ireland, the guards, the police service here in Ireland, the Garda Síochána, they boarded a boat and they went out to Clare Island to tell people that the war was over, and the people shot at the guards from the shore, and the guards had to turn around. So people at Clare Island didn't know that the War of Independence in Ireland had ended for something like 6 weeks until after it ended. So that's where I'm going, out into the middle of nowhere, out into the next stop, New York, is where I'm going at the weekend. So we'll see you guys. We'll hope to be able to get and to chat to you guys there. This is an island whereby 13-year-old boys drive around cars that were last insured in 2002. So I'm taking my life into my hands out going out into this place. But it's going to be good fun. It's going to be good fun.
Enjoy it.
I will indeed. And thanks so much, everybody, for watching and for listening. But yeah, as I said, we'll be back at the weekend. Here's to an Aston Villa win. And in the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.